Thanks very much. Rockers. Jazzers. Samplers. That was rockers. Jazzers. Samplers. That was a fantastic concert last night. Yeah, really. Just so moved to hear our compositions coming back at us through your ears and abilities. It was dynamite. You don't know how much we appreciated that. It was great. Rockers. I chatted with some of the students last night, and I asked one of them if he could give me a good joke to start today off with, and also his worst fear. And he said, I'll give you both. How does a tuba player answer the telephone? Hello, Domino's? Thank you, I says. Oh, I should remind you that anybody left over from the proceedings today can join my wife and I at Little Stevie's for a slice. Dunkin' Donuts then, all right. Samplers. I should point out that this has been owing since spring of 1980. He goes on, I read recently in Allegro that they are holding an unclaimed check for me backdating from my days with Tin Machine. Well, that should wipe out about $30 worth right there. As always on occasions like this, I really never know what to do, which is pretty much the way that I've handled my career as a musician, writer. I guess any list of advice I have to offer to a musician always ends with, if it itches, go and see a doctor. Real world. And that's not going to be of any help today. My sometimes collaborator, Brian Eno, described himself as when I started playing it, came out as well, backstage one night, I was desperate to use the bathroom. I was dressed in my full battle finery of Tokyo Space Boy and a pair of shoes high enough that it induced nosebleeds, and I went up to the promoter and I said, actually I tottered over to the promoter and I asked, could you please tell me where the lavatory is? And he said, yeah, look down that corridor. On the far end of that wall, you see that sink? There you go. I said, my good man, I'm not taking a piss in a sink. He said, listen, son, if it's good enough for Shirley Bassey, it's good enough for you. Rockers. Now, when I hear the most fantastic solo being played on a CD and it's on the fade out, I still rush over to the volume switch and bring it up in proportion to the way it's fading down so I can catch that last note. It still is very much my life. It's impossible for me to talk about popular music without mentioning of probably my greatest mentor, John Lennon. Rocker. Uninvited, John would wax endlessly about any topic under the sun and was over-endowed with opinions. I immediately felt empathy with that. Whenever the two of us got together, it started to resemble Beavis and Butthead on Crossfire. But the most seductive thing about John was his sense of humor. Surrealistically enough, we were first introduced in about 1974 by Elizabeth Taylor. Miss Taylor had been trying to get me to make a movie with her. It involved going to Russia and wearing something red, gold, and diaphanous. Not terribly encouraging, really. I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't on the waterfront anyway, I know that. Both John and I had been invited. I think we were polite with each other in that kind of older, younger way. Although there were only a few years between us, in rock and roll, that's a generation, you know. Oh boy, is it ever. So John was sort of, oh, here comes another new one. And I was sort of, it's John Lennon. I don't know what to say. Don't mention the Beatles, you'll look really stupid. And he said, hello, Dave. And I said, I've got everything you made, except the Beatles. Before the show, I'd been telling John that I didn't think America really got what I did, that I was misunderstood. Remember, I was in my 20s and out of my head. So the big moment came, and I ripped open the envelope and announced, the winner is Aretha Franklin. Aretha steps forward and with not so much as a glance in my direction, snatches the trophy out of my hands and says, thank you everybody, I'm so happy I could even kiss David Bowie. Which she didn't, and promptly spun around and swanned off stage right. So I slunk off stage left, and John bounds over and gives me a theatrical kiss and a hug and says, see, Dave, America loves you. We pretty much got on like a house on fire after that. He once famously described glam rock as just rock and roll with lipstick on. He was wrong, of course, but it was very funny. I was back in New York a couple of months later in Soho, downtown. Jazzers. Samplers. And a voice piped up in my ear, are you David Bowie? And I said, no, but I wish I had his money. You lying bastard, you wish you had my money. It was John Lennon. Thank you so much for indulging me for the last 10 minutes. I hope I've made it reasonably interesting for you. Music has given me over 40 years of extraordinary experiences. I can't say that life's pains or more tragic episodes have been diminished because of it, but it's allowed me so many moments of companionship when I've been lonely, and a sublime means of communication when I've wanted to touch people. It's been both my doorway of perception and the house that I live in. I only hope that it embraces you with the same lusty life force that it graciously offered me. Thank you very much, and remember, if it itches, play it.